The real estate transaction has a lot of steps that are involved to get to the successful conclusion of a closing. Along the way, you're going to see and sign a lot of paperwork. Some of the paperwork is self-explanatory as to what it is and why you need to sign it. And some of that paperwork has terms, words, or phrases in it that are very specific to the real estate industry and not usually heard in everyday conversation. Today, we're going to take a look at real estate terms and their meanings. It's the Real Estate Show. Welcome to the Real Estate Show. I'm Rick Naples. Have you ever read a contract? Any contract? Especially a real estate contract? Do you read all the fine print and understand what it says before you sign it? You know, most of the paperwork in real estate has been written by attorneys and takes into account a number of different situations that are going to go on during the transaction. Now, it's good to follow the old rule of read it, understand it, before you sign it, but a lot of times we're at fault in putting our trust in the attorney or the realtor or the seller's agent or whoever's representing what we're doing, in trusting them that what's in the contract is what we've talked about. Now, if you've ever taken time to read a document, you know that unless you're in the industry itself, there are a lot of terms and phrases that perhaps you don't understand the meaning of. Just take a look at a standard listing contract. The one that I have in my hand here. This is 3 pages long, and it doesn't include all the additional seller disclosures that might be required for that specific type of home that's being sold. Plus all the legal disclosures that are required that the seller gives the buyer. Now, if you're looking to purchase a home, you're going to be looking at what's called a purchase and sale agreement. Now, the one I have in my hand is 9 pages long, and that does not include the additional addendums that you may need if you want to have the right to do a home inspection, do a pest inspection, and all those different things that you might want to do before you're sure that you want to move forward with the transaction. It's a lot of paper. There's a lot of information on each one of these pages. And it is a good rule of thumb to at least understand what each page is and what each page says before you sign it. Let's take a look at this presentation on some of the terms and their meanings. when you're filling out paperwork, you take your time and you make sure that there's no blanks, because you want to make sure that there's no open to interpretation. You want to be very specific. One of the most common forms that a realtor will ask a buyer to sign is what's called a buyer representation form. Now, I've talked about that many times on the real estate show as to why that needs to be signed. But you know, it's not a form that you have to sign. If you're looking to purchase a home, you don't have to use a realtor. Now, as a realtor, that's hard for me to say, because obviously I'd like to see you use a realtor, but you don't have to. I mean, you can search for a home on the internet. You can go to open houses. You can contact the listing agency and set up an appointment and look at the home with the agency that listed the home for sale and go about it that way. But is that the wisest thing to do? You see, what happens is when you do it that way, you're not represented. There's nobody protecting your best interests in the transaction. It's along the same route of the logical reason you would hire an attorney to represent you in a court case. The realtor will go through what the buyer representation is, and it explains what your responsibilities are and what their responsibilities are. If you don't decide that you want to work with a realtor, a lot of times you'll be presented with what's called a disclosure form, or an agency disclosure form, which basically says that the realtor that's marketing that home, conducting that open house, or has listed that home for sale, is showing you the home, but they represent the seller only. They're not interested in your needs or wants or your best interest. They're doing a job for the seller, and that is to get the highest and best price on the home that they possibly can. So it's one-sided. Now, a lot of times if you're unrepresented and you haven't hired a realtor and you're working with the listing agent will ask you if you want representation. And if you do, they can represent you as well as the seller. That's called a dual agency. The only issue with that is that kind of puts the realtor in a tough spot, because how can they have your, as the buyer's, best interest in mind while at the same time trying to have the seller's best interest in mind? Well, there are remedies to that, but the bottom line is, before you sign any agreement, make sure you understand what it is that you're getting involved with, what it is that you're signing. Let's take a look at this presentation of some interesting real estate terms. when you meet with a realtor for the first time, you're going to have a general conversation. And after all the small talk is done, you're going to talk about the real estate transaction. Now, a lot of times what realtors will do when they're talking to potential buyers or to people they've met for the first time is they tend to fall back on some of the industry lingo or phrases or terms that they commonly use when they're talking to fellow realtors or people in related businesses. Now, it's really important that if they say something that you don't quite grasp the meaning of or you don't understand, that you stop them and you ask a question. Never be afraid to ask questions. I mean, after all, a real estate transaction is one of the biggest transactions you're going to be involved in your lifetime, and you want to understand everything that's being said and everything that's being done so that you can move forward with full confidence. Realtors have lots of different lingo. You've heard realtors talk about expires and FSBOs and DFTs and all these different phrases that they use that really have nothing to do with you, but maybe describe the transaction. So you want to ask a question. What do they mean by that? If you've ever gone to a social event and you've talked to somebody that's a mortgage officer or an attorney or someone that's in an industry that you're not in, even the retail industry, you all have words or phrases that you use that are common in your industry, but maybe not understood by those that are outside of that industry. So take the time to ask a question. What do you mean by that? Can you explain that? Can you expand on that? Ask the questions so you have a full understanding of what you're doing going forth. Now, I put together a presentation that kind of goes over some of the things that you might hear a realtor say. Let's take a look. A real estate transaction involves, as we've said in this show, a lot of paperwork. There are specific steps that you go through, and there's specific paperwork that gets involved as you go through that real estate transaction. That's the paperwork. That's what's on paper. But there's also some other things that you need to know and that you should do while you're out looking at a house or going through the process before your paperwork even starts. And that's taking into consideration your safety. We live in troubled times, so safety has to be on the mind of everyone. Here's a safety video that the National Association of Realtors put together that kind of gives you some hints of what the process is going to be and how to keep you, as well as your realtor, safe. Let's take a look.
Real estate professionals are in a unique position that most working professionals never face. They often share their contact information openly with others, meet unknown clients, and walk through vacant properties, to name a few. It's because of the unique nature of this business that it's critical for all real estate professionals to have a personal safety protocol in place that they follow every day. with every client, every time. And that includes with you. So, what kind of safety protocols might your real estate agent take? When meeting you for the first time, your agent might not meet you at the property right away without first having an initial meeting at the office, regardless of you or your agent's gender. You wouldn't want to meet a stranger at an unknown location, would you?
Hey, how you doing?
No. During the initial meeting, your agent may make copies of your driver's license and pre-approval letter for their records. This precaution allows the agent to keep a record at the office of who his or her clients are and a calendar of appointments. When first meeting with your agent, you'll also discuss the types of real estate you're interested in and walk you through the process. Now your agent can arrange showings, meet you at properties, and schedule open houses to help you through the biggest financial decision of your life. When viewing a property, your agent may ask that you drive separately. Please don't be offended. This is a safety precaution for you as much as it is for your agent. Not to mention you may both have appointments to go to afterward.
Hey, this is cute.
When viewing a property, you may need to sign in with your name and phone number or show a photo ID. This is so the seller's agent knows who entered the house. If you were opening your home to strangers, you'd want to know who was there too. As you tour a property, your agent may walk behind you. This is not only a routine safety measure, it also allows you to see the room first and make your own impressions. And many agents won't go into attics, garages, or basements, but feel free to look around and let your agent know what you thought. If you want to see a property that's vacant,
It's got potential.
your agent may only show it during daylight hours. Vacant properties should be seen during the day when you can see what safety hazards may exist, like a loose floorboard or any defects the house may have, like mold. When showing your property or hosting an open house, before opening your home to potential buyers, your agent may ask you to board your pets and remove jewelry, family photos, credit card receipts, artwork, prescription drugs, and valued possessions from the home. This is just one way your agent is looking out for you to keep your property and belongings secure. Your agent may bring a colleague to host your open house. If there are several potential buyers walking through the home, even better to have two agents on hand to answer questions and keep an eye on things. Safety is an important part of real estate, and we appreciate you respecting the protocols and processes that have been put into place to keep you and your agent safe.
Now, let's take a quick break, take a look at this, and I'll be back with the real estate mailbag. This is the part of the real estate show that I call the real estate mailbag. It's my opportunity to address questions that are emailed to me here at the real estate show, asked to me by clients, fellow realtors, or sometimes asked to me when people approach me when I'm out and about. The question that came in today was not really a question, but more of a comment, and it was, Rick, I've been in real estate transactions before, and boy, are they a real pain in the... You could fill in the blanks on that. All I can say to that is some real estate transactions definitely are a challenge. Not all of them go perfectly smooth. There's so many different places that the transaction or process can break down. I mean, you have not only paperwork that's involved, but you have people that are involved. And people are unpredictable. So there's different things that can happen. Realtors are trained and do a lot of real estate transactions during the course of the year. They also converse with other people that are within related industries. They have a lot of knowledge. And most of the time when a challenge comes up or a problem comes up or a difficulty comes up, the realtor knows of a way of being able to negotiate or help that issue so that you can move on to a satisfying closing. My name is Rick Naples. This has been the Real Estate Show. I thank you very much for watching. See you next time. All I want to do is buy a house, and all I got to do is look at paper. Just too much paperwork.